Yes guys, welcome back to another one, and today I'm going to be showing you the only setup that you need in 2025 to become profitable. So let's get straight into it. When you're approaching price, you want to start from the daily time frame and develop a daily bias, because by following your daily bias, your setup will become high probability, such as if you have a bearish bias on the daily time frame, daily on the 4 hour, the 1 hour, and then coming down to the 1 minute where you're looking for a lower time frame model to enter from, you're going to have a much higher probable chance of winning that trade. On the daily time frame, we can see we formed equal daily lows at the start of the day, and what this becomes, it becomes a very strong draw on liquidity for price. So my bias in this case, as we're now trading out of a daily bearish gap, above, even though it's inverse this daily bearish gap, jumping onto the 4 hour time frame, we can see that we're now trading back in to a 4 hour bearish gap. So the fact that we're now drawing into a 4 hour bearish gap means that our daily bias is bearish right now and our 4 hour bias is bearish. So the fact that you're even, considering longs as an A+ setup would not be the case. So coming into the macro, which begins at 9:45 to 10:15, that is the first New York AM macro, we are looking for a sweep of liquidity. We're simply going to mark out the key highs and lows from previous sessions. So this is going to be called session liquidity or just key levels. So from this point, everything that you do on the left on NASDAQ, you do on the right hand side for ES. So we're going to do the exact same thing, which is how you determine between SMTs, or if ES is tapped into a bullish fair value gap or a bearish fair value gap, coming in for entries, then you can enter off that. So you're simply just monitoring both, because if you're not monitoring ES at the same time, that is a dangerous game to play. And ES is the main movers of the futures market. So by not monitoring ES along with NQ, you're going to be missing out on trades. You're going to be edging TP, and then price starts reversing and you have no idea because ES has already taken final objective. So therefore price is already running and reversing back to break even when you should have won that trade, but you didn't because you're not monitoring ES. So that's why you need to be monitoring both. So let's run price forward and see what we get. Perfect. So what we can see here is at the New York Open, which is at 9:30 AM, when the New York Stock Exchange opens, and we inject a load of volatility into the market, which is why we trade the New York session, we've seen a manipulation higher to take out London highs. So the fact that we've now taken out London highs and we have a 4 hour bearish bias, a daily bearish bias, now we have a lower time frame bearish bias. This, if we get a setup here, this will be a very high probable chance of working out in our favor. Right now we can see that we've formed a short-term high at this point. So we want to see price come up and take out this short-term high on either NQ or ES, preferably. So there we go. We've now had a sweep of a short-term high. Now you can see that we've taken the short-term high on NQ, but we haven't taken it on ES. Therefore, we have a bearish SMT. So now I'm looking for a displacement lower than this short-term low, get a confirmed market structure shift, and then a tap back into a 1 minute bearish gap. And this right here is a perfect form of a unicorn model if we were to get a displacement lower and a tap back into a fair value gap. Cool. So we can see here we formed a new short-term low and had a displacement lower on both NQ and ES, but no fair value gap for an entry. So we're going to continue to run price, and we can see that price is just chopping about. There's no real entry, and we also had news this day at 10 AM, so 3 PM on my chart. So this would have been the news hit, and you can see how this wick has formed. So now I'm still looking for shorts. The bias is still bearish. Now, when looking for trades after news has taken place, you wait 45 seconds for news to surpass, and then you can look for a setup. So in this case, I'm looking for a displacement lower than this short-term low, and see if we can look for shorts. There we go. So that right there is a perfect example of a sharp displacement lower. So when looking for a displacement, you want to see the candle close below the short-term low. If it hasn't closed below the short-term low, it's simply just a sweep of liquidity or a sweep of a short-term low, and price is likely going to draw higher. which is why you need to have a strong sharp displacement lower. You can see the difference in energy of this candle compared to the rest of where we've just been chopping about and accumulating structure. So in this case, we've had a sharp displacement lower, and we've now left behind a 1 minute bearish gap. And this 1 minute bearish gap actually has context compared to any random fair value gap in the chart. So what I mean by actually has context is it's actually paired with another confluence. So in this case, this gap is paired with a mitigation block because we've taken out the short-term high before displacing. So after the displace, price has to displace for it to be a block, and then after it's displaced, you want to see, has the short-term high been taken? Okay, it has in this case, so this becomes a mitigation block. But if it hasn't, then it becomes a breaker. So what we can see here now is we have a bearish fair value gap with a displacement paired with a mitigation block. After we set short-term high, we've taken out London highs with a bearish bias on the lower time frame. We have a 4-hour bearish bias, we have a daily bearish bias. So in this case, this trade is very high probability. What I did in this case was looking at the stop placement. It was pretty difficult, around 34 points for the stop placement, and we risk only max 30 points, maximum 30 points. If you're risking any more than that, your entry is absolutely cooked. You need to find a way better entry, okay? So what you can do in this case is what's called an optimal entry. So you get your fib tool out and drag it from the high and to the low of the fair value gap and mark out 50% of that gap. So 50% of this gap would be at 0.5. So you want to wait for price now to tap onto this point right here, so you can put your short position tool right there. So now our stop placement is only 20 points, 17 less points than if you were to enter off just a tap on this gap. Now there is a chance that price may run, but you shouldn't be taking that trade anyway if you're risking 34 handles on that setup. So risking 20 points, we're going to target this low right here for a 1 to 4. You want to mark out the same exact low from NQ. As if ES takes this point, then you'd be closing out the trade fully as you've already taken final objective. And you don't want to risk getting caught in a reversal and getting stopped at break even when you should have won the trade. So let's see if we get a tap on 50%. When you're then taking the trade, trade management is super key. If you're just taking a trade and setting and forgetting, giving away capital that shouldn't have been lost, because your trade manage, you need to trade manage and have, you know, trail your stop loss to each valid point, so you're risking less, just taking off risk off the table. So the first short-term low that gets taken, that would be your break-even point in this case. Because once we take out that first short-term low, price is valid to reverse and go higher, as again, it's technically a sweep of liquidity. So there's two different scenarios in this case. One, we'll go back to break even. Two, we'll flood straight to TP. So let's see what we get. So we've just taken break even at that point. So we're going to be moving our stops to our entry point. So my entry point was actually up here. It wasn't here, it's just because of trading view, it's cooked. So bang, there we go. Flood straight through the TP. And we can see that ES has actually taken final objective, this same point. So I would have fully closed out right there for around a 64 handle gain. And I was done for the day. That is it. Around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 minutes I was in that trade and we were done. Around 65 handles caught on that day, and that was a really simple, easy trade by following your bias, following your rules, and taking what the market actually gives you. If there's no clean setup for the day, there's no point trying to force the setup. And if everything is aligning, especially with your high time frame bias, your low time frame bias, and the setup is there to be taken, that is a trade you have to take. If you're not taking setups simply because you feel scared or you think the trade might not go your way, you need to hop back on demo, because you need to sort your emotions out before entering trades. Because if you're not taking trades based off just based off emotion, you're cooked. You're completely cooked. As a trader, it's a high stress environment, so just simply putting that doubt in your head is not a good idea. So on the daily, we formed equal lows. So my daily draw was lower, and we were also trading out of a daily bearish fair value gap. so my daily draw was 100% lower, so daily bearish bias. Then on the 4 hour, we were trading back into a 4 hour bearish gap, so the 4 hour bias was also bearish until it gets inversed, then it becomes a bullish. 1 hour, we were also trading inside of a 1 hour bearish gap, so because it's a 4 hour, there's going to be 2 1 hours, so it's pretty self-explanatory. When taking a setup, we then came up and took out London highs. The fact that we've taken out a key level on drawn liquidity from the day, there's a high probable chance that we're going to go lower and target London lows. But obviously we're not targeting London lows, we just want a small piece of the cake, which in this case was 65 handles. Taking this setup literally 1 minute before macro finished. So this was at 10:14 or 3:14 on my trading view, which is UK time, and we were done. That's it. But it's really important that you stay strict to the macros, because it builds discipline and consistency each day, so you're coming to your charts every single day at the same exact time, and you only take setups in that window. Because if you're on the charts all day trying to look for a setup, and you're on the charts for like 8 hours of the day, 4 hours a day, you're going to be forcing something, because you've been there the whole day, you feel like the market owes you something when it doesn't. So really it's just these small windows, you just stay locked in, focused, and looking for 1 or 2 really good solid entries that you can take. And if they work out, they work out. They don't, they don't. And that's just what you can do as a trader. So yeah, hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you did, drop a like and subscribe, and link in the bio if you want to watch me trade live each day and get mentored by me one-to-one. So that will all be in the description below. And if you have any questions, drop me a message on Instagram. I can be reached there, or add my Discord.
You know I'm a dope boy.
Order filled.
In love with a white girl, she soft as powder. I get hot around her, I whip her right here. She French, I'm a coke boy. Don't fuck with broke boys. She know I'm a dope boy. She say give me dope boy. In love with a white girl, she soft
Order
as
filled.
powder.